Why Soviet tankers laughed at the King Tiger. Hey everyone, subscribe to our channel and drop your comments below. Share your thoughts, ask questions, and let's dive into this gripping tale of tanks, war, and human ingenuity together. It's 1944. The battlefields of Eastern Europe are ablaze. Artillery roars, tank tracks clank, and tank crews wear grim determination on their faces. Enter the German King Tiger, officially called the Panzerkampfwagen 6A USF-B, or Tiger II. This beast of a tank looked like something out of a sci-fi flick, a massive 69-ton hulk with a gun that could punch through armor from over a mile away and frontal armor that seemed impervious to enemy shells. The Germans hyped it up as the pinnacle of engineering genius. But here's the kicker: Soviet tankers, who faced death daily, didn't quake in their boots. Instead, they cracked jokes and smirked at this so-called king. Why? What made battle-hardened soldiers scoff at this monster? Let's break it down, step by step, and take a wild ride through history, technology, economics, and the raw human spirit. This isn't just a history lesson. I want you to feel the chaos of those war-torn years, see the world through the eyes of tankers and engineers, and think about how ambition, tech, and reality collide on the battlefield. We'll explore why the King Tiger was both a marvel and a mess, weave in some economic analysis, draw historical parallels, and share my own take on it all. Plus, we'll see how this tank shaped the future of armored warfare and why its lessons still matter today. Buckle up, because this is going to be a long, thrilling journey. Germany's dream of a superweapon. By 1943, Germany was in deep trouble. The Eastern Front was draining resources, the Soviet Red Army was pushing back hard, and new Soviet tanks like the T-34 and IS-2 were giving German forces a run for their money. The older Panzer IV and even the original Tiger I couldn't keep up. Germany needed a game-changer, a tank that could blast through any armor and shrug off any hit. That's where the King Tiger came in. The Tiger II hit the battlefield in 1944. And it was a beast on paper: 69 tons of steel, frontal turret armor up to 7 inches thick, and a hull with nearly 6 inches of protection. Its 88mm KWK-43 gun was a monster, capable of knocking out Soviet tanks from over a mile away. The Germans went all in on quality over quantity, building just under 500 of these tanks. They assigned them to elite heavy tank battalions, meant to deliver crushing blows or hold key defensive lines. It sounded unstoppable: a terrifying gun, thick armor, and a presence that could make enemies freeze. But behind the specs lurked some serious flaws. The tank guzzled 500 liters of fuel every 62 miles, had a range of just 75 to 100 miles on roads, and was a nightmare to build and maintain. Its complex design made it a logistical headache, especially for a nation running out of resources. Economic context: the cost of overreach to get why the King Tiger was a problem. Let's talk about Germany's economy in 1944. The Third Reich was running on fumes, oil, steel, and manpower were scarce. Building one Tiger II cost about 800,000 Reichsmarks, millions in today's dollars. For comparison, a Soviet T-34 cost roughly $20,000 at the time. You could build a whole fleet of T-34s for the price of one King Tiger. Germany's factories were under constant Allied bombing. Oil fields in Romania were at risk, and much of the workforce relied on forced labor, which hurt quality. Betting on an expensive, complex tank was a gamble Germany couldn't afford. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union played a different game. They churned out over 18,000 T-34s and 1,000 IS-2s in 1944 alone. Their economy was geared for mass production, allowing them to replace losses quickly and keep the pressure on. The U.S. wasn't far behind, producing thousands of Sherman tanks, which, while not perfect, were reliable and easy to mass produce. Germany's obsession with superweapons like the Tiger II stretched their resources thin, while the Allies and Soviets won by flooding the battlefield with simpler, more practical tanks. The King Tiger feels like a classic case of ambition outpacing reality. Germany wanted a tank that screamed superiority, but they overlooked the basics. Wars are won with logistics, reliability, and numbers, not just fancy tech. The Tiger II was like a supercar in a mud-soaked rally, impressive, but out of place. I can't help but wonder if Germany had focused on upgrading the Panzer IV or mass-producing the Panther tank, they might have prolonged the war. It's a reminder that even the boldest ideas need to be grounded in practicality. Captured tanks and cold hard truths. In the summer of 1944, Soviet forces got their hands on some King Tigers during battles near Sandomierz, Poland. These knocked out or abandoned tanks were shipped to the rear for study. Soviet engineers and tankers were eager to crack open this fabled machine, expecting a technological marvel. What they found was a mixed bag. The Soviet Main Directorate of Armored Forces tore the Tiger II apart. On one hand, it was intimidating. Its gun could pierce an IS-2's armor from nearly a mile away, and its frontal turret armor laughed off 85mm shells from the T-34-85. But the deeper they dug, the more flaws they found. The tank's Maybach HL-130 P-30 engine pumped out 700 horsepower, but with 69 tons to haul. It had a power-to-weight ratio of just 10 horsepower per ton weight, less than the T-34-85's 15. The result? A sluggish beast that struggled to hit 20 miles per hour off-road and overheated during sharp maneuvers. Breakdowns and bottlenecks. Field tests revealed more issues. The Tiger II's transmission and suspension were prone to failure, especially under the strain of its massive weight. Its tracks and road wheels, despite looking tough, broke down far too often. Fixing it in the field was a nightmare. Without a crane or a full workshop, crews were stuck. And then there was the fuel problem. 500 liters for 62 miles meant the tank was tethered to supply lines. On rough terrain, its range dropped to 45 to 50 miles. For Soviet tankers used to long marches across muddy, war-torn landscapes, this was laughable. Soviet tankers' reaction. Chuckles amid the chaos. Soviet tankers quickly sized up the King Tiger. Sure, its gun was deadly, and its frontal armor was a beast, but it was too heavy to maneuver and too finicky to fix under fire. Veterans' memoirs are full of stories about Tigers getting stuck in mud or breaking down before reaching the fight, making them easy targets for artillery or aircraft. One tanker recalled, "We didn't fear them. If a Tiger got stuck, we'd flank it and light it up. And they got stuck a lot." Economic angle, simplicity versus complexity. Let's zoom out to the bigger picture. The Soviet Union's war machine was built on simplicity. The T-34 wasn't perfect, cramped, with poor optics and ergonomics, but it could be fixed with basic tools and produced in droves. In 1944, Soviet factories cranked out about 1,500 tanks a month, while Germany struggled to build 100 to 150 Tigers and Panthers. This meant the Red Army could absorb losses and keep rolling, while Germany couldn't replace their precious King Tigers. The U.S. followed a similar playbook with the Sherman, producing over 49,000 by war's end. Numbers and reliability trumped individual firepower. The King Tiger is a lesson in keeping it real. The Germans wanted a tank that looked invincible, but wars aren't won on paper. Soviet tanks, flaws and all, were built for the grind, mud, snow, and endless battles. Their simplicity was their strength. It's like comparing a rugged pickup truck to a high-maintenance sports car. In today's world, this reminds me of tech startups chasing perfection while competitors win with simpler, scalable solutions. German tankers, a love-hate relationship for German crews. The King Tiger was a double-edged sword. Its 88mm gun could knock out Allied tanks before they got close, and its frontal armor shrugged off most hits, giving crews a sense of invincibility in defensive positions. But in practice, the tank was a headache. Its 69 tons made it a sitting duck on soft ground or weak bridges. It crawled at 15 to 20 miles per hour to avoid straining the transmission, and retreats or fast maneuvers were a gamble. Crews often abandoned and their tanks due to fuel shortages or mechanical failures. Soviet tactics, flank and Finnish Soviet tankers didn't bother with head-on fights. They knew the Tiger II's frontal armor was tough, so they hit the sides, where the armor was only 3 to 4 inches thick. Artillery and air support, like IL-2 Sturmovik planes, turned stalled Tigers into scrap. In one clash near Prokhorovka, Soviet T-34-85s and IS-2s outmaneuvered a group of King Tigers, hammering them from close range. German crews, unable to retreat, often bailed out. The Western Front. A different fight on the Western Front, the King Tiger faced similar problems. British Sherman Firefly tanks, armed with 17-pounder guns, could pierce the Tiger's turret from 400 to 500 yards. Allied air forces, like the P-47 Thunderbolt, hunted heavy German tanks relentlessly. The Allies played to their strengths, mobility, numbers, and air superiority. A stuck or isolated Tiger was a dead Tiger. The more I dig into the King Tiger, the more I see its psychological impact. Germany hoped its sheer size would intimidate foes, but Soviet tankers, hardened by years of brutal fighting, weren't fazed. They saw the Tiger's weaknesses burning, breaking, or bogged down, and exploited them. War is as much about morale as machines, and the Soviets' confidence in outsmarting the King Tiger gave them an edge. Shaping post-war tanks despite its flaws, the King Tiger left a mark. Its gun and armor inspired post-war designs like the Soviet IS-3 and American M103. But the real lesson was clear. Reliability and numbers matter more than raw power. Modern tanks like the M1 Abrams or Russian T-90 balance armor, firepower, and mobility, something the Tiger II couldn't manage. Economically, the King Tiger was a cautionary tale. Germany poured scarce resources into a project that didn't deliver. It's like a company sinking billions into a flashy product that flops because it's too complex or costly. The Soviets and Allies won by mastering efficient production, a strategy that echoes in today's manufacturing and tech industries. The King Tiger story feels relevant now. In tech, business, or even politics, we see projects fail when ambition ignores reality. Simplicity, adaptability, and resourcefulness win the day. The Tiger II's tale is a reminder to focus on what works, not just what looks impressive. The King Tiger was Germany's bid for an unbeatable machine, but it became a symbol of overreach. Soviet tankers didn't laugh because it was weak, they laughed because its flaws were glaring. Heavy, finicky, and expensive, it didn't fit the brutal reality of war. Meanwhile, the T-34 and IS-2, despite their quirks, were the workhorses that helped win the war. This story teaches us that strength isn't just about specs, it's about adaptability. Let's learn from the past and build a future where technology serves people, not burdens them. Subscribe to our channel, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this story with your friends. Let's keep digging into history's lessons and what they mean for us today.